Gary Nordlinger, who's a professor of politics at George Washington University. Isn't it just the passage of time when we're sitting down talking about another election cycle? Because it's like,
I know.
Rewind to 2016 and we were doing this.
Well, you know, we elect over 500,000 offices in this country, so we have elections all the time, it seems.
And we have Gary Nordlinger to break it down for us. Gary, how important is New Hampshire? You know, we talk about, in the grand scheme of things, what New Hampshire is to the primary process, but in this race, it's different.
Well, listen, I think people pay too much attention to who wins, because everyone who gets over 15% gets their share of the delegates. And this is really a question of delegates. Who will have a majority of delegates at the Democratic convention this summer? That said, the winner gets bragging rights. It'll probably be a great night, as you just pointed out, for Sanders and Buttigieg. The big question is, what about Warren and Klobuchar? I mean, this state borders Warren's state.
I heard a lot of New Hampshire voters talking about Amy Klobuchar, and it seems that her campaign has some momentum there. When we look at the Democratic frontrunners, can we identify what issues appear to be important to voters this election cycle?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on who you are and where you live. You know, if you've got tons of student loan debt, that's going to be a much more important issue to you than if you don't. If you've got good health insurance from your employer, it's not as important an issue than if you don't.
So let's talk about former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg running a little bit of an unconventional campaign, skipping some of the primaries, maybe re-entering Super Tuesday. What do you make of that strategy?
It will be a strategy unlike anything we've seen if he wins. And he could very well. He's spending $1 billion of his own money. He's intentionally skipped the 4 first states, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada, because there are not that many delegates there. He's rolling his dice on Super Tuesday, March 3rd, when the big states like California are having their
big picture,
primaries. Gary,
how do you see the race playing out from here?
I honestly don't know. I mean, you could walk into the Democratic, if you continue to divvy up candidates among, if you divvy up delegates among 3 or 4 or more candidates, you have a real scenario where no one has a majority of delegates walking into the Democratic convention.
I need one name. Who is best poised to take on President Trump in the 2020 election at this point?
I would have thought Biden, but, you know, I'm going to have to start thinking more and more about Bloomberg.
All right, Gary, great to have you back.
Be here.
Gary
Thanks.
Nordlinger, thank you.